Welcome to another edition of Acoustic Northeast, bringing you the singers, songwriters, and acoustic music scene of the Northeast
United States.
Yes, and here we talk about the music scene. We talk about topics that affect the artist. We talk about songwriting with songwriters, and they play for you right here, live in our studio in beautiful and historic Brewster, New York. I'm co-host Dave Goldenberg.
And I am co-host George Malice. And we are brought to you by, believe it or not, we have sponsors. We're brought to you by hereatthere.com, where you can go to their website and post your gigs if you're an artist, or you could go there to find out who's playing where in the tri-state area, and that means New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Also, Hudson Harding Folk Radio Promoters, and also WBXO Internet Radio. You can listen to our show wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you are now, and please subscribe. Also, we're on YouTube and acousticnortheast.com. We post the song performances of our guests on YouTube. Also, listen to our Acoustic Northeast Spotify playlist, where many of our past and future songwriters are. And today in studio, we have a great singer-songwriter that so many of you will know, Cliff Eberhardt. Cliff, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you.
We appreciate you making the trip down here.
I had no choice. No, I'm really happy to be here.
We appreciate it. So why don't you kick us off with a tune and give everybody an idea who don't know you, who you are with your first song.
I left my passport back in customs. I left my hat upon the rack. I left my phone in my hotel room, and it's never coming back. All my things belong to others. There's no such phrase as lost and find. I'm getting sentimental for all the things I left behind. She was as beautiful as morning. She was sharper than a knife. She vowed she would be faithful, though we were never man and wife. She always stood beside me. She never was unkind. Now someone else is making love. All the things I left behind. Missing things. I told her up the coast, but lately it occurs to me, maybe I'm the thing that's lost. I left my past in my subconscious, where we forget we soon regret. I left my heart in San Francisco, just like all the rest. Now did you look before you left? I wish there was a sign. Now I'm making my apologies to all the things I left behind. We all want a second look for all the things we left behind.
That's Cliff Eberhardt, everybody. The Things I Left Behind. You know, we want to talk about songwriting. I want to ask you about that song in particular, how that started out.
It started out that I was doing the On a Winter's Night tour, which is me and Patty Larkin, Lucy Kaplansky, and John Gorka. And John and I travel together in a car. The girls don't want anything to do with us. And that's a joke. Something about 14-year-old humor, I understand.
It's very much appreciated here.
Yeah. So we played in Chicago, and we're driving to Madison for the next show. And I realized about 2 hours out that I left my iPad in my hotel room. And it's a pain in the ass to get these things back, you know. And then the next night we're in Madison, we're driving to Minneapolis, and I realized 2 hours of the trip that I left all my shirts behind in the closet. And then I'm flying home from Minneapolis, and I realized I left my writing book. So I started just a little song for John called, you know, The Stuff I Left Behind.
I don't think that was the original. Was that the original title?
No, I can't say it.
Yeah, you can. It's a podcast. You say whatever the hell you want.
The original title was The Shit I Left Behind. But when you know how it is when you're writing a song, that I was just working it out to play for him, you know, like over the phone or something. And another verse tapped me on the back. It said, "That's not what this song is going to be about." And that's what I wrote the verse about it. Now someone else is making love to the things I left behind.
Things you left behind, yeah.
Kind of smacks the audience in the face a little bit.
I love the verse about San Francisco and the things you left behind. That's very cool too. Yeah. So that basically you were just screwing around with it in the car or whatever when you.
No, I was at home.
Oh, you were home. Okay.
After I got home. Because I just started, you know, I left my passport back in customs and I left my hat upon the rack. You know, I left my phone in my hotel room. It's never coming back. But then the whole thing about she was as beautiful as morning, and like it takes a sharp right turn there, you know. She's sharper than a knife.
How is it difficult for you writing lyrics, or do they come to you very easily?
I do generally, unless I'm writing for plays, which is a completely different thing.
Yeah, we want to talk about that later too.
I pick up the guitar as soon as I have any idea of a lyric. So I think the guitar, it will take me to a lyric sometimes. You know, like I could play a certain chord that I'm thinking of playing next. I go, oh, the lyric would sound better with this chord. You know, so they write each other.
And so you don't, well, in that song in particular, you had an idea of what you wanted to do, but you're saying that sometimes you'll just have a lyric or something and you'll sit down and then the song will emerge based upon what you're doing with the song progression and the lyric will follow.
Right.
Very cool.
And like there's songs that I've written bridges on the guitar and I come up with a little bit of music before I write the lyric and it propels the lyric to go to a different place.
You teach songwriting a lot, and I know you're a student of songwriting in a way too. A lot of people who listen to this are songwriters or are aspiring songwriters. What are the most important lessons that your students learn from you when you teach them about songwriting?
Well, I always say that I show, I don't tell. I show them. My whole course is kind of based on craftsmanship. That a lot of singer-songwriters forget about, like beginnings, endings, solos. You know, they're just so lyrical based. And I also teach melody because, you know, as I say, would you put the Mona Lisa in a cardboard frame? You know, they write their melody to fit their lyrics. And it should be, you know, the same. They should be equally as important.
Yeah, folk music tends to be lyric driven, and as a result, a lot of the songs just follow the same 3 or 4 chords, and the next moment is predictable. What's the role of predictability and surprise in songwriting?
Total. It's really important. You know, you can have, I'd say 85% of my students, or 95%, all write in mid-tempo because they're scared to write a ballad. And they all use G, E minor, A minor, D, you know. And my job is to show, like, you know what, you could go here with this and see the lift of the melody there. I don't work on lyrics because people get really angry if you criticize their lyrics.
They don't want them changed.
No.
What about both structure, like the arc of a song, and the length of a song? As a open mic host many times over the years, I've listened to people play their original songs, and I would think if they would cut a third of it out, it would be a much better song.
Yeah. Well, I time my students the first time I meet with them when I'm in a camp, And the average song is 7 minutes long.
Oh, no. No.
And when I was on record labels, if you had over 3.5 minutes, the song didn't make it on the album. And you all know who Townes Van Zandt is.
Sure.
Right? Well, I was at Kerrville one year, and he was one of the judges of the song contest. And he came up to me, he says, he talked slow. He said, Cliff, if they wouldn't repeat the first verse at the end of the song for apparently no reason, and then do 5 choruses to end it, we could get out of here a week early. That is the one thing people, this is another thing, don't fall in love with your song.
We were talking about melody a little bit. And so you, from what I understand, grew up listening to a lot of show tunes and Beatles. So, there's great melody in all of those.
Yeah. And Tin Pan Alley stuff,
Okay.
But most of the Tin Pan Alley writers wrote for musicals too. Cole Porter and Irving Berlin and those guys. My dad played guitar, and he had Weaver's records and Joe Baez's records and stuff, and that didn't interest me half as much. I just, I remember he took me to a Pete Seeger concert in Philly at the Academy of Music when I was really young. I was like 7, I think. And I turned to Dad and I said, "Did you pay for these tickets? Did it cost you money?" He went, "Yeah." Why? I said, "Because we have to sing every damn song with them." I thought we should be getting paid. So
wow. Is there something like early on in your youth or whatever? Not that you're old now. That was a point where you said, "Wow, that's incredible. I want to be able to do something like that."
I have an exact moment. I was 7. I learned to play the ukulele when I was 5, so I was already playing and performing. And I was listening to a Kingston Trio record, and Hoyt Axton's song "Greenback Dollar" was on it. And I kept playing. I liked it so much. And I dissected the song to figure out why I liked that song. And it was the build-up to the chorus. And I went, that is so cool. Because you don't hear that on normal records where there's an 8-bar break of just playing guitar louder and louder and louder. And I said to my dad, "There's names next to every song. What's that?" He goes, "Well, those are the fellas that wrote them. And, they get paid for that." And I turned to him right there and I said, "I'm going to be a songwriter." And the next day he bought me a toy dentist kit.
But you pursued your dream like Bob Dylan. You left home early, and I have in my head the romantic notion of somebody holding a guitar and a backpack and hitchhiking on the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
I did.
Well, why did you do that, and what was it like?
Well, my home life was miserable. So at 16, my parents were moving to New York, and I wasn't going to move with them to New York. So I was like, I'm out of here.
And that was it?
Yeah, well, I had jobs until I didn't, until I sang jingles. So,
can you touch base on one of the jobs that you had where I think you're working at a publishing place?
Yeah, that wasn't a job. That was an internship. I volunteered.
Oh, okay.
At a publishing house in New York for Atlantic Records.
For Atlantic, okay.
Cotillion Publishing. And it was run by this woman named Helen Miller, who was a Broadway writer. And she was tough. And she would do stuff like, she came in one day, I was at my desk, and she dumped a box of Roy Orbison tapes on my desk. And she said, "You don't know how to end a song. He knows how to end a song." And it never occurred to me that songs needed endings. Because most folk songs, that's the end of the song, after 4 choruses. And then one time she took my lyrics. She goes, "Give me your lyrics." And she went in her office, and she had one of those long arm paper cutters.
Oh, yeah.
And she cut the first word off of every verse. And I felt like she had cut my heart out, And I went home, and I was so mad. And I started looking at my songs. I went, she's right. Because I'll give you a really quick example. I have a song called "That Kind of Love." And the original lyric was, "There's no sailboat out on a deep blue sea." And it became, "No sailboat no deep blue sea. I don't need any explanation of this next part of the sentence.
You're getting to it quicker.
Yeah. And also the space is where people come in. And a lot of young songwriters don't know how to rest. They don't know where to put a rest. They'll do the verse and go right into the chorus, like it's the next chord of the verse. I'm like, I don't know where the chorus starts. Space is where the emotions come in. That's my belief.
You found yourself in the late 70s in New York, in Greenwich Village. And when people think of the folk revival, they think of the first folk revival of the 50s and 60s. But even though you think New York that time, you're thinking punk and CBGBs, there was also a folk scene going on, and lots of people were emerging. What was that scene like then?
Well, it was great because my heroes all were hanging out in the village because there wasn't a lot of work for the established folk stars. So I was hanging out with Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Richie Havens, and Dave Van Ronk, and Odetta on a daily basis. And they all mentored us. And I'll give you a good example. One time I was at an open mic, Folk City, and I played one of those, I've been so mistreated songs, victim, victim, victim. And Tom Paxton came up to me and said, look, kid, I don't want you to sing me your diary. I want you to sing me my diary.
Wow.
And I wrote it down on my arm. And I never wrote the same after that. I got away from it being about me. Because so many songs are journal songs,
Right.
There's never one story that I put forward in a song. There's never one character. It's not about somebody. It's about my whole experience.
Do you enjoy inhabiting other characters, though, in songs?
And folk people think that, the folk audience thinks that those songs are all autobiographical. And I have a song on one of my albums where I rob a train. And I've had two people come up and said, did you really rob a train? I go, indeed I did.
Yeah, you don't want to disappoint them.
No.
And you also had other, besides playing as a solo singer-songwriter, you found other ways to expand your world. You were playing with other people. Who were some of the people you played with as a side performer?
Richie Havens, Eric Anderson, Odetta, Dave Van Ronk, Melanie, and one summer the band. Yeah, that was incredible.
I know you've got a great Richie Havens story in you somewhere.
I have many.
Can would you mind telling one of them? Is that okay?
I'll tell the Cab Calloway story.
Oh, I love that one.
We had flown to Rome. We were doing a big festival in Pistoia, Italy. And we got to Rome late and I drove, Richie didn't drive, to Pistoia. We got in like 4 or 5 in the morning, and Richie noticed there was a park bench in the clearing in front of the woods. And he said, you want to go sit down on the park bench? And I knew that meant he was going to smoke some dope, because he always smoked dope. Morning, noon, and night. I never went through customs with that guy. I was lagged way behind. But so he's smoking a reefer, and the sun's just coming up. And coming up the path into the clearing is this really old African-American man. Really old. And he comes through the clearing, and it's Cab Calloway. I know. And he comes up to Richie, and he goes, why, yo, Richie Havens. And Richie just looked at me and went, far out. And that was it. He went back to smoking his joint, and Cab took off. So we get to the festival the next day. We're all getting off of the tour bus. And Cab Calloway's on stage in his white tuxedo and tail singing Minnie the Moocher. And Richie turns to me and said, oh my God, I thought he was dead. I said, wait a minute, Richie. Did you think you were communicating with the ghost of Cab Calloway? He went, yeah, man.
That's great. Let's hit you with another song, or hit us with another song. What would you like to play?
I'll play one of the first songs I ever wrote. And I wrote it when I was 16. And I took it to New York, and I went to all these publishing houses. And they all said, kid, nobody will ever record that song. Well, it's been recorded by Buffy St. Marie, and it's on our Greatest Hits album. She closes every show with it. It's recorded by Shawn Colvin and Lucy Kaplansky. It was recorded by Lucy Kaplansky. It was recorded by the Song Project. And it was recorded by the band Erasure, which is the oddest version of this. So they're a techno band from England.
Yeah.
But I got a car out of the deal, you know. So I don't listen to when people say no to me, you know. Sleepless nights don't bother me at all. Dawn comes, I won't worry. Something deep inside keeps me away. Here, right beside me. And I recall I was very young and I could not fall asleep. My father sang me songs to make me tired, but memories don't come so easily. So good night, wherever you are sleeping, and I hope if you dream of me. Good night. Wherever you are sleeping, and I hope if you dream of me. Now I lie awake, it's no fun, I'm tossing and turning. I would call you if it weren't so very late. Telephones won't bring you close to me. I recall the nights we stayed up late, wide awake but still dreaming. There was nothing on this earth that could make me tired. But memories don't come so easily. So good night, wherever you are sleeping, and I hope if you dream of me. Good night, wherever you are sleeping, and I hope if you dream of me, and I hope if you dream of me.
That's Cliff Eberhardt. That just goes to show you a good song has legs. Good song never gets old.
No.
You know, you talk about Beatles stuff, you talk about show tunes, you talk about, you know, a good song.
Yeah.
Period.
You can't kill a good song.
Yeah.
I've heard people try.
Well,
Erasure tried to kill my song.
But you got some money out of that, baby.
I got a lot.
Yeah. It's crazy, but hey, what the hell?
Yeah.
I want to talk about, because you don't just write for yourself, but you've also written for theater. Talk about how that happened and what goes through your head when you're doing that, when you have a subject matter that you have to meld with what's going on in a scene.
Well, I have been commissioned. I was commissioned way before I got a play to do lots of stuff for TV and movies and commercials. I wrote the theme for CBS News in New York. Got an Emmy for it.
So you were doing jingle writing?
That wasn't a jingle. It was a little song. It was right after 9/11, and they wanted a song saying, "We're going to stay here, and you know, this is New York, and it's my home, and I ain't going nowheres." So I was used to that kind of writing, and I kind of like it. It's kind of like a prompt, you know, where you have to stay on subject. But the first play I did was Taming of the Shrew at the Folger Theater in Washington, D.C., and I got that gig. They decided they were going to do a version of it in a Western Saloon. Shakespeare in a Western Saloon. And they decided they wanted a singer-songwriter to be the bar singer in the saloon. So they were listening to records of all of us. And I have a song that I was just playing a snippet of called That Kind of Love. And at one point I have a line where I said, just a Shakespeare drunk. And the producer said, why not him? Seriously, that's how I got it. So they called me up and they said, would you be interested? And I said, sure. I mean, they hire you for a year to write the music. And then, so I went down and I played them some songs and they were like, this is great, but we want you to be in it. I went, that's not going to happen. I said, we don't need another bad actor. They said, no, you're not going to have any lines. You're just going to be the saloon singer. So I said, all right. I'd never done a play in my life. Plus I got to dress as a cowboy. So
wow.
I know.
Did you have a holster and everything?
No, oh. I was playing at a piano and guitar. I had my own little part of the stage.
So it's like Taming of the Shrew meets Annie Get Your Gun.
Yeah, exactly. And there were guns and everything. People shot guns off, and what they told me, the producer said, "Look, you can't mention any lines from this play in your song. You can't write about a specific character. You can hint at one. And it has to wrap up the scene that you're playing the song for."
Wow.
It was great. I wrote like every day, 8 hours a day. I wrote 42 songs for that play, and they used 7.
That's amazing. You know, you touched base, you talking about jingles and stuff like that. What was that like? Give the audience an idea of some of the jingles that you wrote.
I didn't write them. I sang them.
Okay.
I said, just for the taste of it, Diet Coke. That was you. And the heartbeat of America is today's Chevrolet.
Wow.
I did a bunch of them. Yeah, I mean, I was driving a taxi in New York, and this woman approached me to sing a Quaker Oats commercial. I was like, I'm not going to sing a commercial. That's suck it up to the man. And she said, well, if it goes on the air, you'll make between $20,000 and $40,000. I went, where do I go?
Yeah, really.
So I never worked a day after that.
That's beautiful. Is there somebody today? I mean, I know you play On a Winter's Night with Lucy Kaplansky and Patty Larkin and John Gorka, and you know their music inside out at this point. But in today's music world, is there somebody that kind of stands out to you that you've heard recently or within the past, say, 5 years?
Nope.
Really?
No. The craft is gone. And I'm trained to hear that craft. You know, I'm trained to know it. I think that people appreciate signposts in their song. They want to know when the bridge is coming. They want to know when the next verse is coming, and they certainly want to know when the song is ending. And there's ways to signal people that the song is ending.
So this is probably one of the things that you teach, or try to teach also, yeah. The craftsmanship.
And also guitar arrangements. You know, most people just strum through a song, and that's like Chinese water torture to me. You know, break it up. I always say, put on your composer hats. Think of the music, not just what you want to say.
I think it's also harder today because you don't hear as many people anymore. Radio is, let's say, it's for shit right now.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it is. You know, it's very difficult to get heard. You had a great breakthrough in the 90s.
Yeah, I got, ridiculous amount of airplay. Like on my first record, I had 3 top 10 AC hits. I had a show on Comedy Central once a week. I was on Good Morning America. You know, it's like I was always doing something. I was on many news shows around the country. You know, they'd have the musical guest that's in town.
Right.
So I had the opportunity where, especially with TV, where people recognize me. They don't anymore. They go like, Cliff, what happened? But, you know, I would walk out of my apartment in New York and they'd hear me on some passing radio in a car. So it was, and that was true for all of us. You know, like Tracy Chapman had Fast Car, and then Suzanne had Luca. And then they came down with Butterfly Nets. And they signed us all within months of each other. All of us. And then it kind of ended the Village scene because we all started playing the bottom line. So the small clubs, nobody would go down there anymore because all the good talent was, or a lot of the good talent was, and moved on. And, you know, we don't know why we were signed at the time. You know, it's like we got lucky. Yeah. But it gave us, I still have a career because of that first record.
Yeah.
Well, and old pop stars, they kind of fade away or become caricatures of themselves.
Yeah.
But folk singers, thank goodness, keep on keeping on. How have you changed over the years as a writer and performer?
I think I've gotten to be a better performer. I don't write half as much as I used to, or even a quarter as much, because I was on a label for 30 years, you know, and I had a publishing deal. So they would call you up and go, we need another song, or we need a song for this movie. Or so I had, you know, I was urged to write. And when you have that for 30 years and then one day the phone stops ringing, you go, who am I writing for? I've put out 10 albums, you know, do I really need to write anymore? I still do. But I tend to write about things that I want to say instead of, I was always writing universal songs because I wanted to get cuts.
Sure. But you do some producing also.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I was young, I lived in Carbondale, Illinois when I was in my 20s. And there was a studio there, and I did a couple demos there, and then I produced a couple demos, and I just asked questions from the engineer every 2 minutes, like, how do you do that? Why do you do that? And then when I started doing jingles, I was in 4 or 5 different studios every week. I played in almost every studio in New York. And I just learned by watching them produce the jingles what worked and what didn't work. And what didn't work for me was putting a lot of crap on it. So I tend to be pretty sparse in my productions. But I work on the song a lot with the artist. You know, like I go, there's a difference between a live song and a recorded song. Let's make a record.
Right.
You can always go back to the way you played it live, but nobody's going to notice the difference.
Hmm.
You know, when I hear a song of mine come on, I don't play it anything like I did on the record. And nobody notices. You know, they notice the air of what's going on in the room.
Well, let's talk about that. Stagecraft is almost as important as songcraft for a performer. Mm-hmm. You've been doing it a long time, and you're known for your presence on stage. What are the keys, do you think, to connecting with the audience?
Being funny helps. Not taking yourself seriously, a little self-deprecation doesn't hurt. And tell a story. If you're going to tell a story about a song, don't give the song away. You know, like, this is about when I was a child and I loved this girl and I couldn't fall asleep. And I don't, you know, you're about to sing the song. So I usually have, a lot of times I'll tell a funny story before I play a really sad song. And it kind of guts the audience, you know? And be aware of them. They run the show. Like, if there's an audience, like last night, it was a great audience. I played at the Turning Point, but they weren't a very raucous audience. You know, they responded to everything, but it wasn't like going nuts. And that way you subdue the show a little bit. That's the mood they're in that night.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to really thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much.
That's it, huh?
That's it. You want to keep going? You want to tell some more stories?
No, okay.
I know you got them in you.
Yeah, I got a lot. Traveling does that, you know?
Yeah. I gotta ask you to do one more story. I know Dave's going to be like,
go for it.
Dave's going to be like, we're going over a half hour. I don't give a damn.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's a podcast.
Your audience really would get a kick out of your Dylan story. How I think you know the one I'm talking about.
When he called me?
Yeah, when he called you.
You know, I'm not supposed to tell that story.
You're not?
No, but I'll tell it anyway.
Well, to hell with him. Let's do it anyway.
Yeah. It was 1987, I think. And Vince Gelso had a show on WNEW called Idiot's Delight. And he became a big fan of mine and really pushed me. And so I would park my cab, you know, run up. And I was on one night and I played a song I'd written called White Lightning. And it's a duet with Shawn Colvin on my first record. And I get home and at 3 a.m, the phone rings. And I answer the phone. This guy goes, "Hey, is this Cliff? This is Bob Dylan." And I thought it was my ex-roommate, Skippy, who would imitate Bob to me. So I screamed at him, threw the phone down, and I said, I'm sure there are people that have hung up on Bob Dylan before. He is human, but I don't think anybody has ever called him Skippy before. So he called me back and he goes, no, this is really Bob. He goes, I want to ask you about the song I heard. And he had written down the last verse, which is pretty weird to have Bob Dylan at 3 a.m. reciting to you your verse. And he said, that pulls the song together. Did you write that on purpose or did it just come to you? And I said, it just came to me. And he went, ain't that a bitch? We don't write our own songs. But then I got to hang out with him for 6 weeks and play. It was really interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Well, on that note, we need you to take us out with a tune.
Okay. I'll do a tune from one of the plays.
Cool. Sounds good. What are you gonna play?
Everyone's Wounded.
Aren't we all? And
the playwright called me and said he wanted a big song for the opener. He said, could you play something in the song that makes the audience feel completely uncomfortable? And I said, I'd love to. You think you're alone, what's happened to you? You believe you've been blamed for things you didn't do. Don't assume you're left out, no one is excluded. Take a good look around. Everyone's wounded. Everyone's limping and writhing in pain. The symptoms are different, but they're really the same. There's no membership here. No, all are included. And the name of this club is Everyone's Wounded. We all wear masks to hide the pain. You may think you're alone, but we all feel the same. Take a look at that person in the seat next to you. They may look like they're fine, but they're wounded too. Complain all you like, nobody cares. You can't count on your friends, cause nobody's there. This is a fact that can't be disputed. We're all in the same boat. Everyone's wounded. Forgive everyone and forgive yourself too. Between the give and the take, I have concluded we all make mistakes. Everyone's wounded. Everyone's wounded. Everyone's wounded.